Join Sarah Weiss in the infinite field of energetic aliveness and heart-centered wisdom. This is the Earth, Love, Spirit podcast.
Welcome to the Earth, Love, Spirit podcast. I'm Sarah Weiss, your host, and I'm a medical intuitive, spiritual guide and teacher, and connected very much in the goddess tradition, the earth tradition, and how we can bring together earth, spirit, and love to create the new human. I'd like my listeners to know about the offerings I have to support you in your spiritual transformation. I offer classes, individual sessions, virtual retreats now. They used to be retreats in beautiful sacred spots, and once planetary travel opens again, we'll be finding ourselves in these beautiful spots. But right now, your sacred spot is right beneath your feet. And check out the virtual retreats that I have at spirithealinstitute.com, also spirithealonline.com. The information is in the notes with this podcast. So today, I have as my guest Ana Lilia, who lives in Hollywood, California, and she is a breathwork coach. And we're going to be learning all about the breath and how it can support you in relaxation, transformation, and manifestation. She focuses a lot on setting intentions and instant manifestations. So I'm very excited to have Ana Lilia with us today. Help me welcome Ana Lilia. Welcome, Ana Lilia. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast today. I can't wait for our listeners to hear about what you are doing and providing for your community.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here and connect and spread the word and how powerful breathing is.
Well, it's the most basic thing we do. So I would love to share with people your path into your current work as a breathwork coach and teacher. And everyone should check out her website, which will be in the podcast notes, because she has so many wonderful offerings to help people. So give us a little background of how you became a breathwork coach.
Well, about 7 years ago, maybe even more than that, I started on my healing journey, where I was in my life just feeling so overwhelmed. I didn't feel in control of my life. Every aspect of my life seemed, I had a lot of victim story going on. Let's be real.
Right.
Let's take ownership. And so life was happening to me and I got tired of it. I'm like, something has to change. And when you're ready for that change, people just start to show up in your life that are able to give you information or guide you. And so I had my awakening with my first healer, where I immediately felt a shift in my energy. I felt like I was levitating. Everything that she was saying completely resonated. And I left feeling like I had a bounce in my step, like I was sparkly, like people would turn around and look at me and I'm like, whoa, something happened. Wow. And that created my curiosity and to continue to explore. Fast forward to like 2 years after that, I randomly came across this breathwork class at a crystal shop. And I didn't know what it was. It was a group of us. We were lying on the ground. We were doing this 2-stage breathing exercise. And then all of a sudden, I just started to cry. My hands started to cramp up. It was such a huge emotional release and physical release. I couldn't believe that by breathing, I could access this. And afterwards, I felt so powerful. I felt lighter. The depression cloud that I was living under had lifted. Like literally, I stepped outside and the sky looked brighter. The colors were more vibrant. And I wanted to do more. So I continued going to breathwork classes for my own personal healing. And it was incredible how with just half an hour of breathing, I could completely change the way that I felt. One of the things that I really love about breathwork is that I was able to receive messages. And so for those of you who think that you're not good at meditating, or you have a hard time like sitting down and quieting your mind, because breathwork is active, it goes by quick, and you're not just like sitting in the, oh, I can't, like so many thoughts come to you, but the fear-based thoughts, the analytical mind, all of that quiets, and this creative inspiration rises, this clarity of like where you're blocked, what things you should move in your life or maybe change, start to just present themselves in front of you. And that's where I truly fell in love with breath work. I'm like, whoa, this is something that I could apply to my life. And then I'm like, wait, I want to learn how to hold space and facilitate. How can I help other people experience this? And so then about a year after regular practice for myself, that's where I started my training to be a breathwork facilitator.
So was this a complete surprise for you? I mean, had you been tuned into your intuition or your spirituality since in your younger days? Or this was like, oh my God, this is one world and a completely different world than I've been existing in?
Well, I grew up, my family is Catholic. And so the spirituality of that, and being Mexican, we have a lot of, spiritual healing practices. So there was that, but then I parted ways with the church when I was in college. And so then I was not connected. And it wasn't until that moment, like 8 years ago, where literally a friend like went to get a facial, but I guess the esthetician is also a healer. And I was having lunch with her right after her facial, and she's like, oh my God, you're the perfect friend to share my experience. I just had a facial, but I was crying and I felt really hot and I had this release. I don't know what happened, but you have to meet this woman. And so that's how it started for me.
What path were you on before this? What were you doing?
I was acting. I was doing
Ah.
commercials. I had all these random side jobs as well in between the actings and the audition gigs. So it's fun being on set and I still enjoy it, but I didn't like not being in control. I didn't like feeling like I needed to look a certain way in order to get hired. That felt very disempowering to me. And so I was craving something where I was more in control. And so that's kind of how my healing practice started, where my initial intention after I became certified was just on the weekends to like hold space for my friends and help them, manage their stress and release. And so I would go around to my friends' apartments and do these small group gatherings. And then the word just kind of spread, and the gatherings started to get bigger. And I started to teach out of a yoga studio and then started to create events. And now it's my full-time job. It's my business. And so it's been really beautiful just to see it organically grow. And I'm excited to just continue expanding it and making it accessible to even more people.
So you really left a career path that was, let's say, a little more glamorous, a little more traditional. How did you even want to be an actress in the first place? I'm just kind of like getting to the archetype of your being. Where did these two places meet?
So I'm from Northern California. I'm from Napa. I went to school at UC Berkeley. And while I was in school, I studied mass communications, and I really just wanted to be a TV host. So I moved to LA to pursue that. And I just happened to fall into commercial acting and had success in that. And the hosting it just wasn't happening. So I just continued to work in commercials. I have never had a full-time job. I've always been a freelancer. So that has actually helped me in creating my own business, because I'm used to the instability, if you will, of income. Mm-hmm. And that really just allowed me to start to have some skills on how to navigate the unknown, basically, and just always being open and flexible. You need to be flexible in order to let things happen. And also being able to like step back and reflect, like, is this working? Is this not? Should I pivot? What are some things that I can change? That's really important in order for you to have a thriving business.
So you're kind of a natural entrepreneur. And I find that as people step into their true soul work, if we want to call it that, that often you're led down a path where you have to take everything into your own sphere and start creating and manifesting from the core of your being that's in partnership with all this guidance that is coming to us when we're connected to that core.
Oh, yeah.
And that takes a lot of courage sometimes.
It does. And it's so much more work. I have so many friends who are extremely talented healers. Like, they are so gifted, yet they are terrible business people. Like, just trying to book an appointment with them is really difficult. So I talk to them like, hey, I want to help you. Can we like figure something out where I can refer people to you because you're so amazing and can offer something different than I can. But, you know, it's really hard for them to like book an appointment. Let's figure something out. So that's actually one of my offerings where I have masterminds that I host, and I help entrepreneurs who are just starting out, who still have their like full-time job, their safety job, but they have this side hustle that they want to grow. And most of them, it's in the healing arts. And I start to help them to create systems so that their business is able to grow easier, and they're able to scale a lot quicker than if you didn't have any systems.
That is such an incredibly valuable offering, because most healers and people in the healing arts and spiritual arts don't necessarily have that natural business ability that you're speaking to.
Yeah.
And it's very challenging to bring the two together when you're focusing on developing your healing work. It's hard to develop your business at the same time. And so if you can be there as a support for someone, I really encourage everyone who's listening to this to check this out with Ana Lilia, because you need support, you need guidance. People know how to do this, and you don't have to go to bed crying at night. Yeah,
Figure it out alone. Yeah. Yeah, another thing that I come across too with the women that I work with is that there's a lot of guilt in charging for their services. And, you know, so many times when I'm working with people one-on-one in my coaching program, they're like, you know, I don't want to be rich, or like, money isn't important to me. And I'm like, all right, let's back up. Let's look at that money blog. Like, where does it come from? So I also help them to do some digging work so that any beliefs that they have in their space that are going to make it difficult to create a healing practice that makes money, because we don't want you to be broke. We don't want you struggling. Like, you're already helping so many people, but there needs to be an exchange, right? You need to not be able to stress about paying for your rent, about having enough money to feed yourself. And so there's a lot of layers to it when having not only just your own business, but when you combine it with healing, there's a lot of conflicting feelings about that. So I help people gain clarity, reprogram, and heal that so that they can feel good about there. And there can be an exchange between both people. Because I always tell them, when you give it away for free, people don't have that commitment as if when they're paying for it. So help them show up with that intention of really wanting to do the work for themselves, of seeing it as an investment in themselves.
You know, your energy is so clean, Ana Lilia. You know, here we are, you know, talking energy to energy here together, but you convey that through your being. So the people who are listening are really getting resonance and a frequency that will help wake that up in their being too. So we know that the vibration behind our being, that what we emanate is really the majority of what gets communicated, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you work with your clients? How do you work with them?
Yeah. So I have multiple offerings. I have a free donation-based group gathering Saturday mornings that I started in March due to the pandemic. And that's called Community Gathering. So that's an offering that I have for anyone. It doesn't matter if you're currently struggling with, it's a resource for you to just help process where you are in your life and release and express and feel lighter and feel grounded. After that, I have one-on-one coaching program called Reset, and that's a 6-week program. So whatever your goal is, whatever you're currently struggling with, that's what we tackle. And so through my clairvoyance and also breath work, we're able to quickly get to the core of the blocks of those beliefs that are creating difficulty in you to move forward. So it's a series of 90-minute gatherings on a weekly basis for us to do all of that work. And then also you get recorded meditations every week for you to keep and continue integrating the work and helping you to process any trigger that comes up. So that's my Reset program, which has been incredible just to see the transformation in my clients in such a short amount of time. And the topics that people come to me with are different. You know, they tend to be kind of general at the beginning where I'm overwhelmed, I feel stuck, I'm burnt out, there's a lot going on in my life, I hate my job. But as we get deeper, there's a lot of relationship stuff that we work on. I call it untangling of relationships, past relationships whose energies are still in their space. I have clients, it seems to be a theme this year, of like divorces that have not finalized. And after like 2-3 sessions with me, all of a sudden their former partner decides to sign the paperwork and their divorce is final. I'm like, yay, that was an investment for you. Let's celebrate that. Helping them get promotions, you know, feel confident. Women, we tend to have a hard time speaking up, taking up space, asking for more money. We make all these excuses on why we're not ready. And so I help them to take ownership of their skills, their gifts, to look at themselves and celebrate themselves. And with that energy, with that confidence, go into that job interview or ask for that raise or apply for that new job. And so it's been beautiful to see the growth in my clients. And then as I mentioned, I have my mastermind. So that's a group coaching setting. And that's been really fun. Everybody comes in with goals. It's accountability, but it's so much deeper than that. There's group healing that happens. It's my group right now. It's a really sensitive, beautiful group where there's a lot of the participants suffer from anxiety and depression, suffer from social anxiety. And so for them, even though it's a small group of 6 people, it's difficult for them to share. And one woman, she had a breakdown, like she started to cry. And all she was just sharing, like, how was your week? And that for her was just like so much. But by the end, she shared that it was such a cathartic healing experience that the following week, she was able to take up more space in her life. She was able to speak up a little bit more. So it's, again, so beautiful to see people step into their power, feel more confident using their voice, taking up space, and remembering at the core who they are. And that's what makes them so beautiful and so special. And that's why you're here on this planet. Like, we need that. We need to see that. We need your light. We need your gifts. But first, we need you to own them and to feel safe enough to share them with the world. So that's my work at its core, to help people feel safe and comfortable being their true authentic self so that they can follow their path.
Let me ask you this. When you're in a group
Yeah.
and you're in a virtual setting,
Mm-hmm.
do you do any energetic setting of the group or guided meditation with the group to bring them into some kind of coherent flow while you're working with them?
Yeah, so for my moon circles, there's the opening of the portal. On my end, I definitely create that container for them, but we also do breath work in every gathering in my masterminds. So
Mhm.
there is that physical release and the active meditation that the whole group is participating in, and we share what came up. Um, yeah, and I'm always reminding them, this is a safe place. There's no judgment here. So it is definitely important to create that container if any of you are holding space for groups. And I tell people, I'm like, it's just as powerful virtually. There's no time or space in the healing world. We can still gather and have incredible transformation and healing and awareness happening through a computer.
Absolutely. So when you're with a group, let's say, do you do the breath work and the meditation before you do the talking in the group, or do you just follow guidance about when to introduce something like that into
Yeah,
the
I tap
session?
into the energy of the group. So sometimes we log on and it's like, oh, it's pretty dense today. Why don't we start with some breath work so we can move it? Because the times where I haven't done that, it's hard for people to share. They're just kind of, there's low energy. It just feels very murky. So I do start then with the breath work so we can move that, and so they can also be in a place where they're feeling more hopeful and excited to, I call it like, I invite them every week to set homework for themselves so that they're taking actions every week to get closer to their goal.
So you really are creating an energetic container as well as a therapeutic or
Yeah.
emotional, physical container.
Yeah. And in addition to just like the practical, like, what are you working on? Did you work on your website? Did you reach out to 5 people to practice a Reiki session on them? All of that, the combination of all of that just creates for quicker change in their lives and manifestation.
And you just dropped casually the word, what was it? Your clairvoyance?
Yes.
That just kind of slid in there.
Yeah,
And so did that develop through your work with the breath work?
it
Because that's an
did.
interesting thing for people to hear how that happened.
Yeah. So I was holding space in classes, and I would get these messages. Like, I would close my eyes and I would see images, or I would hear things. And I thought that it was weird because I didn't know what was happening. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'm still guiding people. And I found that until I actually shared that message with the group, it would not leave my mind.
Uh-huh.
And so I started to just share what was coming to me. And as I was then also going to my own healers to help myself, they would tell me, you need to learn how to manage all of the energy that's coming at you. Like, one of them suggested that I go to a clairvoyance school. So I found one here in Los Angeles in El Segundo, and I attended for a year and a half, going every week, every Sunday. And when I was there, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. But I was able to then have tools to control it, to manage it, to know what I should share and what might be too triggering, or how to communicate a message. Because sometimes people are not ready for it. And I've had clients, where I'm working with them one-on-one and on a continuous basis, and I keep seeing the same image, and I'm communicating it to them, and they're like, I don't know. No. And then a year later, they're like,
Yes.
oh yeah, remember when? Yeah, that actually did happen. I didn't remember it. And I'm like, okay. So at the end, it's always really fun, especially with my Reset one-on-one coaching programs. We have like a debrief of after we do the breath work and intuitive guidance. Like I share what I saw in their space and they share what came up for them. And there's so much validation. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that happened when I was this age, this happened. And I had completely forgotten about that, but it makes so much sense because the way that I felt then is how I'm feeling right now with the interaction that I'm having with this person. So it's a way that I'm able to share with people or remind people of the core of their trigger. And so instead of spending years, most of my clients are in therapy, so they already have some awareness, but we're able to just like fast forward, quickly get to these moments in their life that created an impact, that left an imprint that hasn't fully healed, and acknowledge it, feel it, validate it. And now they have the awareness so that next time when that feeling comes up again, they'll remember, oh, it's my little girl feeling scared right now. Let me take a moment and connect with her and remind her that she's safe right now. It's been really empowering for them as well.
That sounds wonderful. Are you noticing in terms of the last year or so, and well, 2020 is quite a year, we know that, but are you noticing any kind of speeding up of the transformational energies?
Yeah, it's been pretty instant. For example, I had one of my Reset clients last night, and I asked her, I'm like, how was your week? And she's like, it was interesting. Right after our session, when it ended, in her session, we worked on energy regarding her husband. And right after we were done from her session and she got home, he said, let's go take a weekend getaway trip in San Diego. And this is something that he doesn't ever do. And she was just like blown away that right after doing this energetic work with their relationship, that he seemed more open and was willing to connect. And she couldn't believe it. So I am seeing like basically instant change and manifestations in my clients. It's really exciting.
It is exciting, and it feels like the support of all the energies pouring down upon us now is just giving us the message, okay, let go, done, past, let's move forward into this new type of consciousness that's coming onto the planet now. So I noticed in your YouTube videos, and she has, Ana Lilia has some beautiful YouTube videos that you can just Google Ana Lilia and breathwork and see what she's doing. You talk about instant manifestation in conjunction with the breath work. And I think that people would really be interested in that.
Yeah. So if you haven't experienced breath work is an active form of meditation. And you go into a deep meditative state pretty quickly. You're able to access your subconscious and notice what are the fears, what are the blocks that are stopping that manifestation from happening. And then you're also able to start to reprogram your mind. So starting to rewire and put into your mind the new beliefs that are going to allow you to manifest these desires. So through a series of visualizations that I guide my clients through, that's how the work starts to happen. I see it as well in my moon circles, where we do 2-hour gatherings of ritual, also virtual, but we start with some journaling, reflection. We do a fire ceremony where we burn these old stories that no longer serve us. We do the breath work to continue releasing, to start to reprogram and manifest. And then we end with an oracle card reading that a friend does for me. And it's incredible. It's like while we're still in session, people are like, oh my gosh, I just got a job interview. I got an email for a job interview. Or like this phone call that I've been expecting, they just reached back. It's amazing. And then I also host once a year, and I think for this upcoming year is going to be a virtual program because COVID is still happening, called Dream Bigger. And it's an invitation for you to take your dreams outside of your comfort zone. We all have those dreams that we haven't even told people because we think they're impossible, because they're so big, because if they do happen, it's going to change your life so drastically that that can also feel scary. So I help people to start to feel comfortable and to believe that they are worthy of receiving these dreams, to dream bigger, to have a bigger life. And the breathwork really allows you to quickly move energy, to start to imagine what this new life will look like. And our mind, whatever you're thinking about, thinks it's real. So why not think about something great and exciting and something that's going to make you feel good, and that job that you want, or that house, or that partner, or you having a thriving, successful healing business that's helping millions of people around the world. So that's what one of my favorite things that I love to do with my work is to help people to dream bigger.
Well, in terms of dreaming bigger, that just ties into a theme that I've been seeing show up a lot lately. And that is that people are dreaming bigger into the unknown. In other words, their dreams are not necessarily what the standard accomplishments would be, that they're being tickled, they're being urged to open up to multidimensional experiences that feel very unfamiliar, and they don't quite know what to do with them. They might start having more visualization visitation experiences, visualization, dreams, multisensory experiences that are beyond like the 3D experience. And I'm noticing that people are really having more and more of these types of experiences, so that dreaming big really is and could be about dreaming into more of the unknown, which is even a bigger challenge at this point.
Yeah. As you mentioned, there's just such a huge awakening happening. And I think in part, the internet has made it helpful for us to find people like you, to Google and realize that what you're experiencing, these colors that you're seeing in meditation, these messages that you're getting, you're not the only person. There's like a whole word for it, or there's a movement. And so I think that's also helping people feel more confident and safer in practicing and being more open to receiving these messages. And then once you do, you realize that life is so much more than what we were taught. That it does feel limitless, and the possibilities are based on what we can imagine. And so it's really inspiring, and it also is stressful because, as you mentioned, well, it's the unknown. We don't really know what is, but then what? What is it going to look like? But then what am I going to do? And so there's an experimentation happening, and exploring and being adventurous and challenging our societal norms. And I think by doing that, by more of us doing that and being courageous, being brave, and stepping out into the unknown and connecting with our soul and our guides, that's what's going to help heal the world, save the planet. So if you're there, please continue growing it. We need more of you.
We do. And this critical mass is building and building, and we need everyone to contribute to it.
Yes.
Do you have any insights, any intuitive sense that you would like to share about what's happening with the COVID on the planet now? Or what has come to you about that?
It has made people realize what's really important for them. So the grind, just like the blinders that they had on to push through that job that has been providing for them, but at the same time has been killing their soul, there just is no patience for it anymore. People really want more. They want more fulfillment. They want life experiences. They want connection. They don't want to be numb anymore. They are awake. And so I feel like COVID has been in part a gift for us to do that, to really reflect and to start to look at ourselves. Where have I been numbing myself? Where are areas in my life that I have been afraid to look at? What are things that continue to repeat in my life? And am I responsible for that? So I have found that it's been a huge mirror for ourselves to see where we're at, what's working, what's not working, what are we ready to change, and having the courage to take those changes, because for some people, they have lost their job or they've lost a family member. And so they're at the point where it's like, well, change is happening already. So let me now also take some control of my life and continue to make changes so that I can feel happy, so that I can feel calm, so that I can start living my life in the way that is aligned with my soul.
So now, as you're speaking, Ana Lilia, the frequency is starting to change in our conversation. Can you feel the difference?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're starting to bring in a higher frequency to the podcast, what's going out to the listeners. And I just like to bring that kind of awareness to people who are listening so that maybe they'll just quiet down and tune in to more than the words that are happening here, because you're bringing through a very healing and inspirational message for people. And that frequency is very powerful. My heart is very touched. I'm feeling the energy and the light of what's coming through you. And so, I have a question. It's not a question, just asking for more commentary of what's being channeled through you at this point. And being of the, let's say I'm 69 years old, so I'm of a generation, older than you. I've been around here for a long time, and I'm watching younger people doing the most amazing consciousness transformation. And I just love what's happening with the younger generation and people more in your age range. And I was wondering if there's something that wants to come through about that for you.
I'm feeling called to guide everyone to close your eyes if you're able to, and to connect with your heart. And as a group, taking a deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. One more deep breath in and exhale. And as you're connecting with your heart, connect with your magic. Connect with your soul, your light. And notice how powerful it is. How ready it is to shine brighter, to be shared with the world. And as you're connected with your heart, see what messages your heart has for you. What does it need? What are you ready for that maybe you have been afraid to go after? How can you feel more supported, more confident to continue moving forward in your journey? And reminding you that you're not alone. You have many loved ones in the spiritual world, in the human world, supporting you, celebrating you, and loving you. And so I want you to feel that support in your body as a softening happening, an opening in your body. And taking a deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. And one more. Deep breath in and exhale. And when you're ready, gently coming back, opening up your eyes. And so that's what I'm seeing in the younger generation. A craving for connection, a craving for intimacy, a craving for guidance. And so I remind them that it's within us. We just have to quiet the noise. We have to become present. And our breath is a tool that's always accessible to us that can take us to that place.
Beautiful. Thank you for bringing your higher being through to us here today. And we haven't even yet touched upon some of the breath work, actually the breath work exercises that you do with your groups. Does it feel appropriate to maybe describe some of the breath work? I know it's in your YouTube videos and everything that you offer on your website, but it's also, I think maybe you could talk about it a little more here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm offering for your listeners a free 5-minute breathwork meditation, which you will find in the show notes. And so that is just an example for how you can use breathwork to set an intention for your day. I like to use breathwork throughout my day. So in the mornings is a way that you can use it to feel energized, to get really clear, and to start to visualize how you want your day to look like. Throughout the day, I always encourage you to check in with your body and your breath, especially given the times, like most of us are really stressed out and overwhelmed. We're juggling a lot in life. And so it's important to create those pauses throughout your day and notice, oh, I'm holding my breath right now, or I'm breathing really shallow, or actually my breath is really fast. And always going back to a deep belly breath allows your body to start to regulate itself, start to calm down. It allows your mind to come back to this present moment and get clear. And so whatever tasks you're currently working on or whatever tasks you have to do next, you're feeling more in control and present and grounded. So that's how I like to use breath work and to remind people how to use their breath throughout the day to just, live life. In my practice, I use it as a healing tool. So I've seen incredible healings of people who have suffered from a lot of trauma. Most of my clients are women. So unfortunately, a lot of women have gone through sexual assaults or a lot of trauma. And so by using the breath work, they're able to heal so much of that trauma. It helps with PTSD. It helps with people who suffer from anxiety and depression. It's, as I mentioned, how it helped me. It helped to lift me out of that depression cloud. And so when I work with people one-on-one and they start or work together in a deep depression, they're able to come back to a level where they're able to feel more, to be more connected, to start to be in a place where they can start to take action to change where they're at. So breath work is powerful, it's healing. And I'm so grateful that with this work and in doing this work, this clairvoyance has come through as well. And so the combination of the two has allowed for a really powerful combination where just doing a one-on-one session with me, we can move and clear so much and help you feel empowered. That's my goal. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to connect with your magic, with your gifts, so that we can have more light in the world. And as I mentioned, the more we do that, the higher the frequency is on our planet, the less problems we will have, and the more likely we are able to save our planet because we're there.
Yeah, it's ours. Yeah. You're taking an ancient time, perennial spiritual practice, the most foundational spiritual practice that you'll find in any spiritual tradition, and making it available on a daily basis, integrated into our lives in a very smooth way. Do you ever, as you're speaking, I'm like seeing all these Tibetan masters above you, and as if your being has lived lifetimes in spiritual monasteries, and now you're able this lifetime to titrate down those spiritual teachings into something that's very accessible and practical for people.
Yeah, and I also incorporate music into my breathwork meditations, and it's modern music. So it's contemporary music. Like I just had Demi Lovato in my playlist last week, and all of the music that I use is intentional. So I tell a story through the lyrics. And as you're doing the active breathing, as you're hearing my clairvoyance guidance, then there's also the lyrics of the music that are taking you to different places, maybe having you remember things. Maybe it's helping you to express an emotion. And so I do like to sound like, it's like meditation, but it's also contemporary and modern. And we're using a language that people are used to, just listening to regular indie pop music, but in this container of healing and sacredness and transformation. So that's been really fun as well. I have a ton of playlists. If any of you love music, you can follow my Spotify or Apple Music. It's Breathe with Ana, A-N-A. So you'll find a ton of playlists there as well.
Well, this has been so exciting. It's been so healing to be with you today.
Thank you, Sarah.
And is there anything else you'd like to say in closing today?
Yeah, I would love to invite you to participate in my community gathering, which again, it's a free offering, Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock Pacific time. And you'll able to experience my work where we do breath work and people from all over the world joined. That's been really powerful. And I'm also excited that I'm going to be launching soon a breathwork for anxiety program. So hopefully by the time you listen to this podcast, it will be out. And that will be a 7-day program. If anyone suffers from anxiety, you will have a total of 9 guided meditations to help you calm your body, to help you become present, to give you some tools to manage your anxiety so that you can feel more confident and free and in control of your life. So I'm excited about that too. But all of that you can find on my website.
So thank you so much for being with us today. Check out the information in the podcast notes. Check out Ana Lilia's offerings, and blessings to everyone listening here today. It's been a very healing podcast.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And yes, please remember to keep breathing.
Blessings all.
Thanks for listening to the Earth Love Spirit podcast. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.